off the coast of the island of El Hierro, 1,000 kilometers from Spain, with Francisco Dominguez, who has worked here as a fisherman for the last 10 years.
There are days when we see 5 boats come in. Yesterday we saw one, during the night another, and now another today. I now recognize the shape of their big boats. And when I see one, I call the lifeboat rescue service for them to come and get them.
That very morning, a boat headed towards the island's main port. On board, 160 migrants piled up on top of each other. The weakest were taken to dry land first. After 7 days at sea, many of them were suffering from dehydration and infections.
He estado viendo que hay pocos niños también.
Ahora menores han salido 12 menores, pero menores de 17, 15, 16.
Pero niños pequeñitos.
Pero pequeños ninguno.
Menos mal. 6 meses aproximadamente, 5 o 6 meses.
6 months ago, at this port, there was practically nothing here. No installation at all. But as boats kept constantly arriving, we had to organize ourselves urgently, with tents, corners to look after people. Before there was nothing. The migrants were just sitting around, even on the ground. They went to the toilet where they could. It was very disorganized.
Javier Armas, a senator who represents the Canary Islands in the Spanish Parliament, spends a large part of his time warning Madrid about the seriousness of the situation. In just a year, 250 boats have arrived on the shores of El Hierro, more than 14,000 migrants. The smallest island in the Canaries, there are less than 11,000 residents here. Less than an hour after their arrival, the migrants are transported off.
Ahora esta guagua va hacia San Andrés.
The bus is only for adult migrants who are taken to the island's largest reception centre. Built on a hill, it can house 500 people. Journalists aren't allowed inside. Underage migrants are taken to Valverde, a town 10 kilometers away in the north.
That's the center where the unaccompanied minors stay. It's a former school hall that wasn't being used, and they gave it to us.
250 under 18-year-old migrants are looked after here.
We've got 19 bedrooms in the dormitories. You can see one over there. Initially, we tried to have 10 or 12 children maximum to a room, but that's become impossible. We can no longer maintain that ratio because there are too many children, and we've had to reduce the space they each have.
The centre is currently running thanks to funding from an NGO.
This is a Spanish lesson that we run every day, which Kajali teaches. He's one of our members. He also arrived on a boat.
Kajali is from the Gambia. He's 24 and arrived in El Hierro 2.5 years ago.
They can't chat to each other because some speak one language, some of them another. So it's really positive that they're forced to speak Spanish to understand each other.
These migrants don't know how long they'll stay here. There's no obligation at the moment for the Spanish mainland to accept them.
The island can't integrate 300 children. It's impossible because we haven't got enough schools. The hospital is a small one. In the long term, there won't be enough work for so many people. We estimate that the ideal number that could stay on El Hierro would be between 50 and 70.
Several families on the island have volunteered to take in the youngest children, who arrived without any parents.
Buenas tardes.
Among them are Geraldo and Teseida, who are looking after Adama and Baeza. The two children's father is currently in prison in Tenerife, suspected of people smuggling.
I left with my father and many other people. I remember when the boat began rocking around a lot. Bai was vomiting. Many people were injured. Others weren't. Lots of them have become mad.
The children didn't want to come over here, but their fathers made them. They often tell us they want to go back to their mothers and their brothers and sisters in Senegal.
Once a week, the two boys can call their mothers. The conversations are supervised by the Director General for Minors.
It might look like they're happy and have adapted, but when they speak with their families, I think it's really difficult for them. They really miss them. Especially Bai, who cries a lot because he misses his mum a lot. He doesn't just want to talk to her, he wants to be with her. They don't understand why they can't go back home and why their father isn't there.
It's these kinds of painful situations the small island is tackling as best as it can. Taken off guard last summer, the only health centre in the north of the island does its best to treat the new arrivals.
Hello. Hola.
These two patients are migrants. They arrived here on April 5th. He had an infected hand. We had to amputate some of his fingers. We have him under surveillance, but he's much better. And he's got a foot disease, which is very common in these crossings. We've also had to amputate his toes, because since he was sitting down all the time during the crossing, with the bumps he got injured. The skin got inflamed and the foot infected. The foot was contaminated with a mix of seawater and feces.
Sondi was lucky to survive. From Mali, he travelled 1,500 kilometres along one of the most dangerous routes in the world.
The boat was going like this. The waves went like this, and the boat like that. I panicked. I panicked until I got to Spain.
Sondi's life is no longer in danger, and he's able to tell his family the good news. But the head of the hospital is conscious he can't treat everyone.
The island only has limited capacity. We've barely got 10,000 residents, and we've had 14,000 migrants arrive over a few months. We suddenly had to face overpopulation, and so we've had to improvise constantly.
How has the small island El Hierro suddenly become one of the new gateways to Europe for immigration? That's the question being asked by many people here, like the People's Party Member of Parliament, Juan Manuel Casañas.
Rubén, buenos días.
Hola, buenos días, ¿qué tal? Bien, ¿cómo vamos? Aquí analizando un poco el mapa, porque hay lugares que uno no conoce.
Immigration to the Canary Islands used to be mainly into Lanzarote, Fuerteventura and also Gran Canaria, because they are the most accessible islands just 100 kilometers off the African coastlines. But now, because patrols have been reinforced in those areas, the boats leave lower down the coastline from Mauritania and Senegal to get round and avoid the controls. And that's why they've been coming directly to El Hierro, if they manage to arrive and don't get lost at sea.
That gives you an idea. That shows you to what extent things have been done badly from the start. We should really tell them, in their countries, what they're going to find here. That would change a lot of things.
Kajali could tell them about life here.
Hola, equipo, ¿cómo está?
He's integrated well on El Hierro.
Hola, muy bien.
Kajali, pues tú ya sé que está ya con nosotros casi más de un año, ¿no? Con el coche.
Sí, casi 2 años. La verdad estoy feliz porque aquí la gente está cariñoso y yo me encanta vivir aquí toda mi vida.
Kajali is well aware that he has been extremely lucky.
I think I'll tell my friends to find another solution, rather than coming to Europe because taking the risk of coming in a boat is too high. You never know if you're going to arrive. Then you can wait 2 years to work because you don't have any papers. At the end of the day, I think it's better to look for another solution.
To avoid the port being saturated, migrant boats are systematically destroyed. But even while that is happening, other vessels from Mauritania and Senegal are already on their way to replace them.